Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk to Me Sis. As you can see, one of my sisters is missing tonight, and it's Nicci. So I'm flying solo tonight, but not so solo. I have an amazing guest. I'm really excited. So excited to speak with Andrea. I had the pleasure of meeting Andrea and her beautiful family. We got to spend some time together after church on a Sunday. We had lunch. And then we got to do a meet and greet, which got a little chaotic because of us. But anyway.
Not just you guys.
But we'll get into all of that. Anyway, Andrea, some of you or a lot of you may know her. She is, and we lose our names when our sons become who they become, Drawings by Trent's mom.
Right,
And,
which is why you don't naturally know my last name.
Right.
Because I'm
like,
just Trent's mom.
You're Trent's mom.
Right.
Or Connor's mom. What's so cool, Andrea, really, just so you know, I found you. I mean, you were, Trent was in my, for you or suggested. And I just fell in love. Actually, I believe it was, just watching him and your husband together, actually, because your husband's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he just seems like this big, I wouldn't want to make him mad or meet him in a dark alley. He's amazing. He's lovely, but he's this big guy.
He's nothing like that.
Nothing like that. But when you see him, you're like, ooh. And he is just watching him with Trent. And that was the few exchanges of what caught me. I followed. And then that was it. Fell in love with you guys. And never in a million years ever thought we'd meet. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And we just hit it off right off the bat.
It was such a blessing. Beautiful family, gorgeous granddaughter, Winry.
Yeah.
And I got to meet the whole family, son-in-law, daughter Tristan, the whole family. So it was great. But anyway, well, welcome to Talk to Me Sis. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to speak with us and me.
Sure.
The way we like to start this off, Andrea, because I know you're Trent's mom and I'm Connor's mom, and in a funny, cheeky way, I'm very proud to be called that, but we do lose a little bit of ourselves out there.
Yeah.
We love to start off with, who was Andrea? Who was Andrea before you were married, before there were kids, before there was Trent? Like, what's your story?
Well, growing up, music was always a big part of my life. Even at a very young age, I started piano lessons, and I took piano lessons up through college. So I loved piano. I loved singing. I played in the band. I played clarinet. I played saxophone. I loved it all. And so I initially started college as a music major, and I got into the theory classes, and it was really difficult. I was like,
was that interesting? Or
this is not fun. This is hard, And so, but we got married young. We got married at 19. We dated just a year, and we got married. And it was, oh goodness, Corinne actually met in a singing group. It was for kids all over the United States. We had an audition process, and then we toured. It was through Christian college. And so we'd spend some time there and then practicing, and then we'd go on tour. And so we were both in the same tour summer after our sophomore year in high school. And we met then, and we didn't start dating then, but then again, after we were seniors, we were in the group again, started dating after that. We got married the next fall. So fall of our sophomore year of college. But, I hated dating. I mean, it's just heartbreak. It's just not fun. And so I wanted to be married. Yeah, I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids, and so I switched my major to elementary ed. And we got married when I was 19. I finished my degree. And when I finished, our son was a year old, our oldest son. So it was 2.5 years after we got married, but I did finish my degree and then went on to get more education. But I really I loved music, and I still do music. Still a big part of my life. I think it always will be. But I never regretted, not continuing in music as a major, because I'm in education still. And I really have loved having the schedule. I've loved having more time with my kids and that kind of thing. So
Meaning like following the school calendar with
Yes.
holidays,
Yes.
because you do work
Hmm.
do you work in a private school or public school?
No, I work in public school. I'm a school psychologist. And so when I stayed home for 10 years having our four children, and then when I went to work, I was working on my master's in special ed. I was pregnant with Trent actually when I started my master's in special ed because I was trying to keep up my certification when I wasn't working and I wanted it to go towards something. So people have asked me, like, did you get into special ed because of Trent? And I'm like, no, I actually started that path long before I even had Trent. So, yeah, I worked special ed, and then I went back to be a school psychologist, and which is what I still do. I started doing that in 2011,
So as a
and
school
I love it.
psychologist, is it the whole population of kids? It's not just the special
I
education?
am able to help with like interventions for the whole population of kids, but my main job is to determine their needs, to test and see if they need special education. And if they don't, what do they need? What can we do for them through regular ed if we can't place them in special education? So basically, determining the needs of kids and helping, being a resource to teachers. That's mainly what I do. But I'm just half time now because of Trent's business. And I'm just in one district, which I love. It's a district I grew up in. I taught there. My kids went to school there, except for
Oh, that's
Trent.
nice.
Yeah. So it's home. I mean, I enjoy it.
So nice. And so you have four kids. Do you want to go through
Hmm.
their ages and kind of where they are in the world?
Sure.
And because I know some of this is a family business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Our oldest son is Trevor, and he is 32. And we've been married almost 35 years, which is crazy.
It's going to be a
He's
nice
30.
anniversary.
I know we need to do something really special. He is in Champaign, Illinois, finishing up his doctorate in musical arts. He plowed through those theory classes that I struggled with so much. He's a pro at it. He's finished his coursework, so he's writing his dissertation, which is really cool. It's related to special needs. He is researching like building a curriculum for kids with special needs and teaching them music because there is nothing like that. The music teachers just accommodate however they think they should. There's no formula or even any guideline at all for teaching kids with special needs music. So that's kind
I
of his
hadn't even
passion right
thought
now.
about that. Like, because I remember when
Hmm.
Connor was going through school, it was more the IEP was so focused on the academics or the
Right.
milestones of testing. I
Hmm.
don't think specials really
Yeah,
were
people don't think about that.
oh,
So
interesting.
he has had a lot of experience teaching private lessons to like kids with Down syndrome, and he's had some autistic students, and he's gotten some experience in that. So he teaches lessons to the whole population, but he hopes to someday, beginning he will probably get a job in a university as a professor over percussion, but he would like to eventually open a studio to teach kids with special needs. And he teaches piano, he teaches percussion, all that stuff.
Do you think
So
he'll stay in that part of the country, or do you think he'll come
I don't
closer?
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like those jobs in the universities, people get in those positions and they don't leave. They stay there their whole career. So I think he'll go wherever the job is at first and kind of
Yeah.
build his life there. So
That's
it's pretty
exciting.
exciting.
And I love it. The way he's going with the special needs, is that something you think that's inspired by your family and Trent and his
Absolutely.
experience as a sibling? That's awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, I
That's
think so. When Trevor left for school, for college, he moved away and went to college away, and Trent was 11 at the time, so he was really hard at that time. So I always worried that Trevor had some hard feelings because Trent spent a lot of his life destroying everything. Trevor's an artist himself, and he used to build the coolest little clay things with little balls of clay, and Trent would just destroy them. Or he'd build a huge Lego thing and Trent would destroy. I mean, Trent just destroyed everything. And I always worried that he had ill feelings towards Trent because he didn't really see him kind of mature out of that aggression, to a certain extent. But they did a sibling episode. We did a podcast for a few years, and they did a sibling episode, and they all talked about these things, and it really made me feel. I mean, there were some things said that were kind of hard to hear,
Sure.
Um, yeah, but all in all, like, Trevor hardly remembers ever feeling bad feelings towards Trent. He only felt like the protector. He thought he was a protector of everybody because he was the oldest. And it just made me feel so good. Like, he doesn't hold a grudge against Trent. He's, it's fine.
It says a lot about your family and just like, I don't know, just my experience with you all, and we'll get to it, but Tristan, your daughter, and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were enjoying lunch and we were at this restaurant, and one of my favorite, just, I'm in the conversation, but I'm also a big watcher of
Uh-huh.
the scene. And I think I said it, I verbalized it, but I just so enjoyed watching Ethan. No, sorry.
Easton. Mm-hmm.
Easton with Trent. And it just
Yeah.
made me think, we'd known each other 5 minutes, let's say, in real life.
Right.
And
right.
I thought to myself, what does this say but the beautiful way that you must have raised your family, obviously because of Tristan, and then Tristan's selection in a husband? Because
Mm-hmm.
watching Easton and Trent was just, I don't know. I just thought, oh, I can only hope that
I
we
love
add
hearing that.
people into our family like that,
Yeah, that's awesome. Tristan is 29, and she's about 18 months older than Trent. And so they were babies together, she was always second mom, and she was always his biggest protector. If anybody looked at him wrong, she was the protector. And she didn't date till she was out of high school. Like, she just decided, I'm not dating till I'm out of high school. And she told whoever she dated, like, you marry me, you marry Trent. Like, I will be his guardian someday. And you have to be okay with that. So Easton knew going in, and Easton is very accepting of people, very accepting. And he has friends that were probably teased by people when they were younger, and he just sees past it, and he doesn't hold grudges. I think that he truly loves Trent, and he is one of his providers.
Yeah, you could just see it.
Yeah.
And he explained how they go on pizza night or something.
Yeah. They have in fact, they went today to Old Chicago for lunch. Yeah, it's a
They have a
pizza place.
standing pizza,
Yep. And they're
bro time.
regulars.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Trent thrives on that. Like, that's his peer, he doesn't get to hang out with friends. That's his peer group, is his siblings.
Yep. The
Which
biggest
is
gift
great.
is like that big family. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's Trent, who's 26,
Mm-hmm.
27.
27. Yeah. And then TJ is 25. And he's the little brother. And he is probably the least close to Trent, which is funny because he grew up with him. They potty trained together. They had a lot of milestones at the same time until TJ passed him by. But he's a little bit spectrumy himself. He has a hard time seeing more than just the black and white. Like, if Trent can't talk to me, why would I talk to him, kind of thing. He's had to kind of be trained that Trent's a real person. You need to acknowledge him whether he acknowledges you or responds back to you. There were just a lot of things we had to teach him to do by rote because it just wasn't natural. But he is not diagnosed with autism. He has OCD. He had some learning disabilities, but he's the hardest worker ever. He works full time for a tree trimming service, but he also has his own business that he does on the weekends of tree trimming. He has a family, he has a wife, he has 2 babies now. And yeah, it's so great. And he's such a good dad. Such a good dad.
Awesome.
But they live pretty close to us. So they do see Trent and us quite often, but it's just not quite the same relationship. And part of that's because, like, the other kids have been providers for him and Trent, and TJ hasn't done that. But he's kind of not in the position in his life to do that right now. And he didn't feel the bond with Trent like Tristan did.
Yeah.
It just, every kid's different, you know?
It's amazing. Same two parents. I have 4 children,
Yeah.
same two parents, and
Yeah.
it's like they couldn't be more different. And it's just
Right.
amazing though
And it's
how
okay.
as a whole they really do kind of all like I'm like, what a cast of characters we have, but I love
Yes.
it, you know.
They do complement each other. They do. And they are the people they are because of Trent. They really are.
Yes. We did sibling episodes, Nicci and I, with our daughters and then our sons, because we both have just so many kids. And
Mhm. Mhm.
it was just so, like, to your point, there were some things that they said, but overall, the overarching message was, at least to me as a parent, was we're okay and we wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So,
I
so that
agree.
was great. So,
Mhm.
got just a few questions. And so, like, how old was Trent at diagnosis? And then did you start to suspect things before diagnosis? Always that mom
Mhm.
gut that we talk about,
Mhm.
or did another family member? Like, how did that unfold?
Mhm. Well, and Trent's just a year older than Connor, right?
Yeah.
Isn't Connor 26?
Yes.
And so back then, I didn't know what to watch for autism. I didn't know to put a name to this thing that was happening with him. He was diagnosed at 2 years, 10 months, but it would have been a lot sooner. He was 12 months old when I told the doctor. He doesn't point, and, he was a third. And I was trying not to compare, the whole time. I'm like, don't compare. But he's not pointing. He's not saying dada. He's, he's pushing the furniture around the house. He's biting everything. I had to put him on milk because I had to stop nursing him because the biting was so bad. And so, I mean, there were just things, and I didn't know what it meant. I just knew something was not the same.
Yeah.
So at 12 months, I told the doctor, and the doctor said, oh, he's just a boy. They're slower to develop. I think he's fine. And then it went to 15 months, and it went back, and I said, nothing's changed. He's still not pointing. He's still not doing these things. And he said, well, I'm still not concerned, but for your peace of mind, I'll send you for an OT and a speech evaluation at the hospital. So we went for those evaluations, and he qualified for speech and OT. And the speech said, and at that time he was about 16, 17 months. The speech path said he's really about a 9-month level with speech. And I said, I knew he was behind, you know. And so we did that for several months, and there was no change in his speech, none. There were still no words, and
How
the
about
speech paths.
receptively? Did you feel like receptively he was understanding simple one-step directions? So literally was not receptive or expressive. There was
No, we didn't feel like there was either. We were very confused by things like we would tell our other children when they were toddlers to pick up your toys. And even if we showed them how, they would continue to do it. He would not. We said, pick up your toys and then hand over hand, hand over hand. And he wouldn't keep, I mean, like, we could not get him to do anything. We said, we thought he was deaf for a long time. My husband would do the whole hitting the pots together behind him to see if he'd respond to the loud noise, and he ignored it. And he didn't answer to his name, nothing. And so we had several hearing tests. We had at least 4 hearing tests where he went into a booth, and every time, and he was a toddler, but every time they said his hearing seems to be fine. I don't know how they tested it. We're like, okay. But it was after a few months the speech path said to, and so we were going to the hospital for these therapies. We had like Rainbow's therapies, infant toddler services coming to our house 3 times a week. So we had several therapies that we were
sorry,
doing.
what is rainbows? Is that something for your state or
It's
local?
yeah, it's an infant toddler service that comes in with doing speech, OT, any of the things, like a birth to 3 program.
Okay.
And it's free, and they come to your house and they work with your child. So we had lots of therapies going on. But after several months, the speech path at the hospital we were going to said, well, we're not going to assume it's autism yet. And we went, what? What? That's the
That's
first
the
time we
first time
heard
you
that
heard
word.
that?
It's the first time we heard that word. other than Rain Man, you know, like everybody else. And so we got to the car and like Corey broke down. We were just like, what does this mean? So we got home, internet was fairly new to us. We, you know, Googled, it wasn't Google, but we searched for traits of autism. We found a checklist of 20 things. He hit 9 of them on the head, and the 19 of them, all but one. The last one was doesn't like to be touched. Well, Trent wanted extreme touch. Like he had that, but it was the opposite. He would hug really hard or push heavy things, or, you know, so he had that, but it was the opposite end. And we're like, of course he has autism. Why didn't anybody just say this, you know? So then it was the wait for the specialist. And finally, he got the diagnosis at almost 3, and we had known for months.
But you had been intervening a little bit with some
Oh, yeah.
therapies or just things to help make him. So with the language piece and the lack of developing or understanding, you know, like you were saying, receptively or expressively, did you feel, was Trent showing frustration? Was he was he able to get his
Yeah.
needs met in terms of drinks or food or?
He didn't become aggressive really until he was about 4, I'd say. And that's when we felt like the language was really causing the frustration. I felt like before that, his needs were probably being met just because, you know, we know instinctively as parents to meet their needs as babies and toddlers before they can say anything. But then when he got to be a little bit older and it was more complex, there was just a lot of aggression for most of his growing up years. And it was heartbreaking. A lot of it we felt like was so out of his control. He would almost check out like a seizure and just fight like for his life. And it just broke our hearts. But I know a lot of that had to do with communication. We kind of got to I knew he could read. He couldn't really talk, but I knew he could read at about 6. And I wrote out a strip that said, "May I have milk, please?" And I put it on the fridge, and he could read it. And so he'd go say, "May I have milk, please?" And so he was saying a sentence to me. He was requesting things because it was by rote. And I remember the first time he substituted a word, and he said, "May I have computer, please?" And he was about 9 or 10. I was like, he's transferring this, you know.
That's
Um,
amazing. Yeah.
but it's just like whether or not he can pull up the word is the problem, you know.
Right. And then so with the aggression, if you don't mind, I mean, because I just know there's a lot of parents out there listening, and, you know, we've got kids in all different levels and so forth. Was it, you know, toward you specifically? Was it just sort of dysregulating over transition? Was it towards siblings? I mean, was it predictable? Were you able, or was it really just, okay, we all just kind of need to be ready to support him with whatever's about to go on?
Very unpredictable. Sometimes there was no warning at all. Almost always toward the alpha in the room. So if it was the kids and me at home, he would come after me. If Corey was home, he'd always go after Corey. If like there were times where he'd be doing really, really well, we might leave him with Trevor, who's a teenager.
Sure.
But there were times that we did that and he'd attack Trevor, you know. Sometimes it's whoever's in the room. That's the only way to predict is like, this is the person he may go after.
Right.
I think it's like the biggest threat in the room, you know, or the
And
the
then
one in charge.
just in terms of like, because I know for my experience with Connor, we all just can understand our own lived experiences and where I am with him.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different level of what, you know, their heart is. But when Connor hit puberty and the hormones and the body changes,
Mm-hmm.
we went on a different kind of ride then for us. And, Connor had language and had all these things, but there were things
Mm-hmm.
happening to his body. And so that threw in a new layer of a curveball for us. Did you experience that with Trent during puberty, or did you feel like it had just sort of stayed the same? Or
You know what's funny? His whole life up to that point, his developmental pediatrician told us several times, "Oh, do you think it's bad now? Just wait till puberty." And then when he got to be about that age, we saw maturity. He didn't get worse. We saw him, that was around the age I saw him starting to show self-control for the first time. It might have also had to do with like the school he was in was a private school specifically for people with language and behavioral, like severe behavioral issues. And he had a class called Anger Busters with their psychologist, and he learned breathing techniques, and he learned a lot of strategies that we saw him using at home, which was awesome.
that's awesome.
But so actually puberty was kind of the opposite for us. We just saw him starting to show self-control. I know, because we're like, worse? Like, what? I don't know if we can handle worse.
First of all,
you know?
I'm just kind of thinking as a parent, like, and the only thing I can compare it to at the time was I was pregnant with my twins, and a mother
Mm-hmm.
who had like 5-year-old twins is like, "You think this is bad? Wait for the first 2 years." And I was like,
Oh, goodness.
"Thanks, like I'm
Yeah.
here."
Thanks for that encouragement. Exactly.
And so I'm always astonished when people do that. Like, can you just?
Well, especially I mean, like, we love her. She was a great doctor, but
No, she's just
especially,
But I
yes,
say to my mom,
yes,
she's kind of famous for doing things like that. I'm like, useful comments only, please, like right now.
right,
But
right.
I guess, and then back to, and I don't want to hover on it, but part of this podcast is, again, we understand, Nicci and I, like our experiences with the boys. They were picked on the
Mm-hmm.
show, and it's our understanding that the more complex need families, really don't like the show that the boys are on, and
Oh,
really
really?
that's my understanding, and I understand it. I do.
Uh-huh. We
And I
loved
think,
it.
well, I'm glad. Thank you. And you guys called me after the last scene when we saw Connor.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it if you haven't watched it, but Corey and Andrea called me and they're like, "Can Connor feel his legs?" It's cute.
That was so
But
much fun. I had just got in contact with you before that, and
it
I was
was
like,
fun. I
let's
know. I
just
was
send
so
him a
happy to see
video. It'll
it.
be fun.
You FaceTimed us. But and not to there, but just in terms of like within the family at home, how did you when he had an aggressive outburst or it was toward you or the kids, were you restraint trained, or how to safely keep you safe and Trent safe in that instance?
Mm-hmm.
How, and I know life isn't perfect and things happen, but overall, how did you try to like just keep everyone
Mm-hmm.
safe?
I was not working in the schools yet at that time. I was still staying home, which was such a blessing. Like, he would have never been able to go to daycare, when he was little. He did start early childhood when he was 3. So there was that. But prior to that, I'm so thankful I was home with him, because I just don't know what else we would have done. Oh, and so I knew about like CPI, like crisis prevention and holdings and stuff. I knew that existed. And I asked questions like to the school, because our older kids were in school, and like, can I train to do that? Like, can you train me?
Yeah.
And they said, no, we can't train you to do that. I'm like, we really need something here. So no, we really didn't have any training on restraints or anything, but Trent fought with all his might. And usually if it was really, really bad, and thankfully my husband, so Corey's a pastor, and he had a flexible schedule and wasn't too far from the house. So if it got really bad, I would call him home. And he did. I mean, it was like a wrestling match. Like he would, try to hold him down, because Trent's trying to bite and pinch and with all of his might. And by the time they were done, they'd both be like just covered in sweat. And it's just,
Yeah.
and emotionally just exhausting. And heartbreaking and all of that.
Yeah.
But there was a whole summer that I couldn't be left alone with him. Corey had to be there because it was so bad. And I I know that there were people who knew us who, I mean, one of them actually straight up said, "You need to send him to an institution." And I said, "People don't just do that anymore." And she said, "Well, it would be, you're harming your other children." And I'm like, "Well, when he's having a meltdown, I can't get the other kids to leave the room. Like, we would tell them, go to your rooms and lock the doors just for safety." And they
Sure.
wouldn't. They'd be like, "He's our brother. We want to stay. We want to
Yeah.
help." We're like,
Yeah.
"You're going to get hurt."
Right.
I mean, but also, like, bless their hearts. I mean,
I mean,
they
that's
loved
just what I'm
him.
saying, like the love in your family and just, but to just more hearing this and I'm hoping, and I don't know, and I'm coming from a place of genuine curiosity and
Hmm.
what can we do to help families? Um, why couldn't they help and assist in that sort of training? Like I just
Hmm.
for the
Well,
sake.
I think it was like the liability of the school. Like, if something were to happen in somebody's home and they said, "Oh, I was trained by the school," then the
Sure,
school would be
okay, okay.
liable.
But are there
It's just a whole
programs?
legal. Are there programs that you can, and what they teach now, since I work in the schools and I know this, what they teach now is like hands off. Like,
Okay.
get away from them, try to get away from them. And I think sometimes that means shutting them in a room by themselves. You know, I don't think that kids having meltdowns like that are looking for some way to harm themselves in a terrible way. I mean, Trent did a lot of head banging. He still does a lot of head banging. But he bites his arm. That's his kind of his go-to. But actually, I saw something. So Betsy on the go, she had someone on her podcast talking about why people with autism self-injure. And she was an adult. I don't know if you watched this or not. She was an adult who self-injures, and she was able to explain. She's very educated and was able to explain, like, why they do it and that it's fulfilling a need they have. So since I watched that, I've been trying to help Trent by, like on the tour. There was one day that I think he didn't sleep that night, the night before. And the next morning he was banging his head just terrible. And I put pressure on his head. Like, I'm like, okay, maybe I can simulate this pressure he needs on his head. And I squeezed his head kind of as hard as I could. And then I'd move my hands a little bit and squeeze some more. And he was just falling. Like, his head was just, first his eyes were like, and his head just fell and fell and fell. And then I stopped and he curled up and fell asleep. And
Just
I was like,
need some
he
input. Yeah.
needed that pressure. It was just so interesting to listen to that lady talk about it. And I'm like, boy, this kind of changes the way I think it, because normally, like, for 26, 27 years, we've been saying, don't hit your head. Just
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't hit your head. No, don't do that. Well,
But
he
he
needs
needed some
something.
kind of input. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish I wish this was more common knowledge, like, that there's a reason they're doing it, and we have to find out what they need, you know?
Right.
They can't just stop it because you say stop it.
Right.
I
Exactly.
this whole
I mean, and like with Connor, he had, I think I may have the term wrong. Is it called like proprioceptive input? Like Connor needed to, he would run and crash into walls.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah. He
Connor,
needed that feedback.
he toe walked when he was
Uh-huh.
younger. And we actually had surgery because all he did was walk on the balls of his feet.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
we saw an orthopedic and they were just explaining if we allowed that to continue, just
Mhm.
the implications to his legs, hips, and all the rest if
Right,
we
right.
stayed there. So we
Yeah.
obviously intervened, but that was just very telling. And then he replaced it with running into walls, and so as he got older, we tried to help him with replacing it with things to squeeze, or I know if I'm with him, even now, I can discreetly like squeeze his wrist or his elbow joint, and
Oh,
I can see
wow.
him come down a little bit. But that is
Uh-huh. So this,
interesting. And yeah.
yeah, the squeezing helps
Oh,
with whatever need it is to walk on your toes.
I
I've
guess
never
he
thought
needed
about
some sort
that.
of pressure input, and he would, that was one thing, but
Yeah.
we have found for Connor. And even now, like to this day, I can tell when he's getting upset. I can, but it's more discreet. I can just act like I'm having
Mm-hmm.
his arm, and I can give him a little
Mm-hmm.
squeeze, and I'm like, "Are you
Mm-hmm.
okay?" Or squeeze me back, or whatever you need right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Connor is also able to tell us things too a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. We express a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So I guess for me, it's just trying to understand how you've learned and kept him
Right.
safe, because
So
Trent's amazing. I mean, he looks
what, yeah, he's come a long way. And a lot of it, I believe a lot of it is maturity and just him figuring out himself. But one thing that I tell families, because, a lot of this social media thing is just, we did not have the support. We did not have people to ask who'd been there. We felt so alone in this whole journey when he was growing up. And so I tell people constantly, email me. Like, I'm happy to have a conversation with you to help you through this. I've had like single moms with the hardest kid ever who's a teenager, and they don't know what to do. Like they're at a loss. And I said, you've got to find your people. You don't have any family. You need to figure out a way to find people who can love your child. Or they say, if something happens to me, my child has no one, no one, and my first go to is like, find a church family. If that's not their thing, find a group to go
yeah,
to, a support group. Find your people somewhere, because
yes,
you can't do this alone. You can't, and you will not always be here. And and that's just one of the number one things is, and learn to trust people. Like, if your kid is really hard, and someone and trust says, I can handle it, let me try it, let them try it. That's hard for me to let go. And like I was just telling Nicci today, like, I've never trusted enough, like her trust in letting Tanner be as independent as possible and go live by himself.
it
That
freaks
just
me out. I
floors
mean,
me.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I admire her so much for having that strength.
Same.
I am scared to send him even to a special needs camp where they know what they're doing. I'm just like, will he miss home? Will they be able to handle it if he has a meltdown? Like, they don't love him like I do. But I encourage other people. I mean, I have trusted people over the years. I have. But, if somebody says, let me try, let them try, let
You just
them.
hit it. You can't do this alone. You can't. It takes a
No.
village. And even if I was a single mom for 5 years with my four, and
Wow.
it's hard. And I did have my people, and I did have people. It's funny because when I did meet my husband, he'd never been around autism. And then when he
Wow.
met, I think I've said it before, people on the podcast who listen will hear me say it again. He said, once I met you, I knew so many, like all your friends seem to have kids with autism. I was like,
Everyone
because
we
we find
know.
each other. Because he's like, I've
Right.
never known anyone with autism. I met Lisa and all of her friends, but we could help each other. We could be respite
Hmm.
for each other, you know?
Right. Right.
And you do. And I've said this, and I say it in other situations with motherhood. And I think it's the toughest thing I've ever done. But I've been doing it now 26 years, and I haven't gotten a trophy or a medal yet. So get get support, get help. We
Yeah.
cannot do this alone. And don't,
Right.
and like I said, learn to find someone to trust wherever you can.
Hmm.
And just think, for me too, it's like I would go to the masks falling from the airplane. You do, you want to care for your child in the very best way. You do need to kind of give yourself some time to have a break or a breather. Were
Hmm.
you and Corey able to do that over the years?
My parents lived close to us, and they were always our biggest support. But there were a lot of times when they couldn't watch Trent. And it was, they were older, probably our age back then, but like they bruised more easily. They, and we didn't want to take the risk. And as he got even older, my parents have been like, I don't know if we could handle it if he had a meltdown with us. There's still good support though for him. Like my mom will pick him up and take him to the library and take him home for the afternoon, and he's totally fine. As he's gotten older, since he's gained more control, we can kind of see the triggers before they happen most of the time. It's kind of, well, I don't know if it's rare, but it's less common that we don't see it building up, just to have a blow up out of nowhere.
Yep.
Most of the time we see some triggers. And if she sees those triggers, she knows it's time to go home. And as long as he knows what's coming next, he can usually hold it together.
Sure.
So
Now,
my
how
parents
does
were
he
the
do
biggest, and we
with
did have a few friends. We
oh,
did have a
sorry.
few friends who helped also. So I feel like we've always had somebody, but there were a lot of times where he and I couldn't be without Trent for like months at a time.
Yeah.
But
Well, the love and the bond in your family is just really just evident just being around you guys. So,
thank you.
it's amazing. Now,
Yeah, we are blessed.
how's Trent in the environment? I mean, we were in a pretty chaotic meet and greet together. We were in a loud room, right? I mean, it was sort of a concrete room.
Yeah.
Lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trent just handled it like, I mean, he's just a seasoned professional with these tours.
Right. He is. He loves it. We were just talking about that recently about, our favorite things about the tour and that kind of thing. And, we might break even going on a tour, with all expenses and everything. It's not like we don't do it to make money or save money for Trent. We do it for Trent. He loves it. He loves to travel. He loves to stay in different places. Every night we get to most nights it was a new place, and we'd show him where his room was. He'd get set up. He'd go to bed when he normally does, which is around 9 our time. And he just settled in and he was fine. Next morning, pack up your stuff and let's go. He just did great. But the meet and greets themselves, like sometimes he may have a little bit of rough time during the day, like that day he hit his head. But then once we get to the event and things get rolling and he's behind his table and people are telling him how great he is, then he's fine. He's happy. He loves it. Now that when you were there, and that was the most chaotic one we had. Actually, our next to last one was pretty chaotic too. But
okay, I don't know.
when you guys,
like, I don't.
well, it was because it was a smaller place, and it was just full of people the whole time. But so the one we were at with you guys were off talking to people as you were leaving, and he needed a break, so he went in the bathroom. And Tristan checked on him and she said, "Do you want dad?" And he said, "Yes." Like she thought he was not happy. So she went to get Corey. I was waiting outside the door of the bathroom. Corey came. By the time Corey got there, Trent had come out and was happy as a clam. He just needed a break.
Needed a minute.
Yeah, he was fine.
So, this is like, I'm sure the question that's on everyone's mind, and I know it was mine, and I asked when did you discover this amazing talent? This incredible talent that this young man has. He is, so you obviously have a very creative, musical, artistic family. Mm-hmm. So he gets it honestly in the genes, but when did he show you, I can do this?
We can't pinpoint a time because it's kind of always been. I mean, it's part of him. As soon as he was holding a pen, he was drawing. And probably 2 years old. And always very good. Like we don't even remember him practicing drawing. Like he could always draw. And I'm sure when he was little, it wasn't perfect, but we don't ever remember it not being perfect. It's just crazy. And some of the first things he drew on were our phone books, which is still his favorite canvas. And he has drawn in a ballpoint pen since the beginning. it was just born in him. And when he started drawing, it was obsessive, and it's still obsessive. It's crazy. But he drew on everything. He drew on the walls, the toys, everything.
I think Tristan shared a story with us at lunch where she was like mad because he drew on her kitchen, her
Yeah, her little toy kitchen. That was crazy. He had a marker, and so the top of the kitchen is about 3 feet off the ground or whatever. And he was standing on a chair or something, and he was drawing on the kitchen, and Corey went and looked at it and just looked like all these swirlies. And he was like, what is he doing? And didn't tell him to stop because it was pretty cool. But he walked around the other side of it, and Trent had been writing the alphabet A to G upside down in curly letters. It was very, very artsy, but he was probably like 2 or 3 years old when he did that.
Meanwhile, you
And
don't
Corey's
stop and like,
yelling at
sorry,
me.
Tristan. Sorry about
Yeah,
your kitchen.
Corey's yelling at me, Andrea, come look at this. And it was the craziest thing. I'm sure we probably took a picture of it with our camera at the time, but I don't know. I don't know where that is. But I remember the G was like a G and then curly, But I mean, I can't even do that now. Like write A to G in regular letters upside down. Like when you go on the other side, it's A to G.
That is amazing. I think what for
Yeah.
me and what caught me to your channel and how this has all evolved, and again, it's always surreal that we have a friendship now,
Right.
is the fact that he draws in Sharpie. Like there's a little bit of swag and there's a little bit of confidence. This man has a black Sharpie.
Right.
He is not,
Right.
he is very, very confident in what is about to go down on this paper.
Yeah.
Where I would be like, okay, I've got this one piece. I've got my Sharpie. I would have to, and then what also blows my mind is the pictures that people request. Like I just saw one where it was like a girl raccoon falls in love with a badger.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know what a badger looked like.
Wasn't that the sweetest? Like they were holding hands and like running together.
And he drew this stripe,
So
and I was like, "Is
cute.
it that?" I was like, went and looked at what a badger looked like. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I actually saw another badger that he drew another time, and I was like, "What is this animal?" And then I asked him, and he said badger, and I looked it up. I'm like, by golly, that's exactly what a badger looks like.
I mean,
It's crazy.
so, and then he comes up with his mixed animals, like the hybrid animals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And his proportions are perfect. It's perfect. I think that that at one time a few years ago he was looking at that you know online they mix up real animals to look like they're hybrids, and it's all just AI or whatever. It's just photoshopped. I think he found something like that years ago, and he was fascinated by it because he started drawing combined animals, and he would write the names of the animals above them, or he'd write like a rhino lion, he'd write Ryan or whatever, so he kind of got obsessed with that. But I mean, his proportions are always perfect. It's wild. But like, so I said when he was little, he would draw on black ballpoint pen. That is still his favorite. Like a big, cheap black ballpoint pen. And when he draws on the phone book pages, he can feel the groove. And when he was little, he would draw in the phone book and feel it while he drew and not look at the page. He'd just like look in the air and just draw and feel, and it would be perfect. Absolutely crazy. So when we started doing requests on social media, which he loved right off the bat, like I think he likes the challenge. It's something different than what he normally
Fishbowl
draws.
requests. I love
Yeah, yeah. I think he likes the challenge. We were doing it in ballpoint pen because that's what he drew in, and it was really hard to see. And I knew at Heartspring at his school they had him draw with Sharpie for some things because it was bolder, and they were working on a coloring book for him. And so Corey's like, well, we could have him write in Sharpie. And so he did it in Sharpie once, and that's what he wanted from then on. So he always chooses a Sharpie for the request, but chooses a pen for his own pleasure.
Okay, so that's how that's his thing.
That's how he began with the Sharpie.
Is his weapon of choice. That's what caught
only
me
for the videos.
Yeah, but I mean, I just and again, you're just in real time pulling a request. He has no idea what's coming,
Right. In real time. Yep.
and
In the
he's just
beginning, we had a lot of people saying, this is fake. This can't be real. He knows them ahead of time. But now people rarely see that because his fans will go, oh no, I've been watching him do this forever, you
I've
know?
seen him do it in person. I just why do people
I
that's
know.
a
There's
thing for
always
another
gonna be
day. But I
that.
just am like,
Yep,
oh, he's
yep,
just
yep.
this beautiful soul doing such a. It's just beautiful to see what he's putting out there in the world, and I love it.
Oh,
And I
thank
love he
you.
always signs at the page, and
Yeah,
he drew
yeah.
for
He's an
Connor.
artist, do that.
Connor's like, artists typically sign in the right. I'm like, let Trent sign wherever
And
Trent.
he did.
This is
He
his
signed in the
art.
right.
But of course, Professor Connor had to jump in. I'm like, let this man sign his art.
He did what Connor said.
I know, but I was like, Connor, let the artist be. Just let him respect the artist.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
They were really sweet together, and it
Yeah,
was
they were.
fun
They were.
watching.
I wish there would have been more time just for social interaction with
I
your
know.
family.
You know what? Next time, lessons are learned always, and things we have to just. But I think going forward, hopefully we do get to see you again, and we'll have more time. And I loved
Yeah.
also seeing Tanner and Trent's interaction. That was very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I still have more to post with Connor though. So
Oh, good, 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 excellent. Well,
yeah.
collab with us. We love it.
Okay.
And then, just some other questions if you have a little more time. I don't want to take up
Yeah,
your whole
sure.
evening.
That's okay.
So to what degree is Trent non-speaking, and then how many words does he have? Like, because I do hear him,
Mhm.
you'll say hello, Trent. He'll say hello, mommy.
Mhm. Mhm.
What kind of sentences and how many phrases?
He really is just a one word kind of guy. And he has a lot of words. Like I think he has he knows a lot of words. He doesn't know how to put together the language. He doesn't know how to speak in sentences unless it's learned by rote. Like the mom, may I have pop, please? Mom, may I have this, please? Because he's learned that sentence. But like if I say, how's your day? His answer is good 100% of the time. He could have the worst day of his life. And I say, how was your day? And he'd say good. That's just how it is. um, because he doesn't know how to answer open-ended questions. So if I give him choices, he will most of the time pick the choice he wants. I mean, I would say he's unreliable with that a lot of the time too. So he has words. He knows how to, if someone says hi to him, he says hi back. He knows how to use their name in doing that. So really, I mean, I would call him he is non-speaking. He has zero conversational speech. Now, when we try to talk to him on videos, you'll notice he's echolalic a lot. He says either repeats what we said or repeats the last word. If we give him quite a bit of time to think and it's something concrete, like, what did you have for lunch today? He'd say today. And then he'd think a while and he'd probably come up with it. He'd say chicken
Yep.
or something, but that's about the extent of it. So I wouldn't know like how many words, but he knows what things are called and he knows like action words and that kind of thing. He struggles
But
a
any
lot
kind of
with
functional
everything in
speech or
between.
conversational
Yeah, no,
functional, it's not. So
not
that
there.
leads me to the next question. What is your opinion on spelling to communicate?
For in the beginning when I first heard about it, because I have a couple of friends, social media friends, who have used it with their sons. One of them has been successful. One of them has not been successful. I always thought, because Trent can type anything. He has typed since he was little, but it's alligator, rhinoceros, elephant. He types he types words he likes, and it's not functional. And we tried for years, like he carried around an iPad, and his teacher, a full year, she'd ask him a question and try to get him to type an answer, and he couldn't do it. couldn't do it. And so we kind of felt like we've been down that road. Like, he can type everything. I didn't understand spelling to communicate, like remapping the brain to answer things they haven't learned by rote, and getting away from what they, there's just so much more to it than I ever knew. And so I would say, I don't think it would work for Trent. He already can spell anything. Like, I felt like a lot of that was like them learning to spell so they could communicate through typing. Well, Trent already knows how to spell. If he could communicate, he would have done it already. But there's so much more to keep spelling to communicate. And we're going to give it a shot. It's absolutely worth it. We've done a lot of things that have cost money, but it doesn't hurt him, and it might help him. And even though it's crazy that I always thought once he hit a certain age, like 18, 20, 21, he'd be plateaued and that would be it. But he is not. I still see him stepping out of the box, and he's terrible at problem solving. Like, if something's wrong, he'll just let it be wrong and doesn't have, I guess, the executive functioning to figure out, I need to do this to fix that, or
Right.
But okay, it's so simple. When he runs out of toilet paper, he has like a 9-roll thing of toilet paper in his bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
He has a little story by the trash can that says, and by his toilet paper, his elephant toilet paper dispenser, that says, when the toilet paper is gone, I take the roll off, I put it in the trash, and I get a new toilet paper roll and put it on the elephant. And he does that. But when he's out of those rolls of toilet paper, he won't go get another pack of 9. He knows where they're at. He won't go get them. And so forever, he runs out of toilet paper. I don't know. He won't tell me. He doesn't ever, like, if his pillbox doesn't get filled, he doesn't tell me. I just have to figure it out. So anyway, one day saw him carrying the toilet paper up the stairs from the basement. And I was like, whoa, he did it. Like, I didn't even write a story about it. Like, he just did it. It was so exciting. So I did make a post. I took a couple pictures of him carrying the toilet paper. I was like, this is amazing. He did it again. The next time he ran out of toilet paper, he went and got it again. And I was even almost more excited about the second time, because I thought, okay, first time, maybe kind of a fluke. Second time, I'm like, maybe he's got this. And he figured that out on his own. It's just the simple things.
One of the things that was said to me early on, because Connor got diagnosed at 5, but I knew around 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I had
Mm-hmm.
burned 3 years of intervention
Yeah.
and so on. And Connor looked very different as a child. I think people would be surprised to see, some of it was just how it got overlooked for 3 years was really hard. When he
Yeah.
got diagnosed, one of my things was, oh my gosh, early intervention. I burned 3 years. I beat myself up. And a doctor just said to me, and I think this is evidence to what she was trying to tell me, the brain is not a cooked egg.
Yeah.
It constantly can learn. And she said, and I would even tell you, stroke victims that are elderly can
Mm-hmm.
remediate and train their brain back. So
Wow.
she told me to just don't give up and just keep on.
Right.
Like, and again, here you are, 27 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just said the brain is not a cooked egg and people can remediate back from strokes. What's to make you
Mm-hmm.
think you cannot lay down these neural pathways for your son
Right.
at 5
Right. Well, so spelling to
or
communicate, like the
27?
hope that gives us, I'll tell you, we honestly 100% have believed that we will not know what Trent's thinking until we're all in heaven. Like, until then, he's a mystery, and just the possibility of knowing soon, possibly, or even in the next 10 years, figuring out what he's passionate about, what he wants to try. Those are the things that kill me, is like, what if he wants to try something and we would never think of it? if we don't give him an option of, would you like to do this? He would never tell us, ever. And so just to even just know what he likes or doesn't like, or,
So,
it's very exciting. I'm hopeful.
oh my gosh, well, I'm hopeful and I'm excited. Well, keep us posted, if
Yeah,
you,
definitely.
and we'll keep following you and see if how his journey
Yeah,
goes. But, we've been doing this for an hour now, and I just, thank you for all your time. A couple of
sure.
things just in terms of other parents with more complex needs, kids,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of planning for Trent's future, how you get older, and, any suggestions for families like who are maybe in the thick of it when you were when Trent was younger and didn't have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
support up to, you know, is it just find your people? Anything you might just leave them to noodle on.
Yeah, sure. We didn't know until Trent was an adult, basically 18, that there are resources out there. I've had parents say to me, we can't afford anything like that. We can't afford respite or whatever. And I'm like, you need to go to like ours is called the CDDO. It's something developmental disabilities. They find resources for you. Like once they become adults, they go off their income and not yours. There are resources out there. You have to step out and find them. There's respite. I know that's difficult because sometimes there's not people and you have to find the people to do the respite. I know that's difficult. But see what's out there. Like don't do this alone. And don't do this with no resources, because there are resources. I mean, there were resources out there we had no idea about. Grants to replace things that he breaks all the time, and that kind of thing. You have to look for it. You just have to look. And the schools typically don't, like, I worked in the schools and I didn't even know about resources outside. So I would just say, don't, if you are in a position that you're feeling desperate and you don't know what to do, start searching or ask somebody. Nowadays, find somebody on social media,
Yeah,
find a group. There are groups all over, and there are people willing to help.
that's great. And you don't live in
So,
this big metropolis city, or do you?
no, no. We live in a suburb of Wichita. It's a small town of maybe 9,000. And yeah, it's our county. The place we go to find the resources, it's in our county.
Because there are
So,
more, I live in Metro Atlanta, so there's a lot
mhm.
around me, obviously. But,
Yeah.
Nikki and Mark were in, St. Matthews, South Carolina, and we have other
Mhm.
families who are listening in more rural areas. And so,
Mhm.
obviously I wanted just to point out that you're not living in some big city and you were able
Right.
to get creative and find resources. And if all else fails, social media, reach out to people, find people who are wearing the t-shirt with you. And on
Right.
that note, where can we find you, find Trent, follow you, tell us all the things and all the places?
Sure. So he has accounts on Facebook. He's Drawings by Trent on everything except for YouTube. It's Drawings by Trent Official. So he's on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube.
And if
So,
someone
and
wants to get a
also,
hold of you, email you, or,
yeah,
or if it's something you're
we
comfortable
have a
sharing.
website. We have a website, drawingsbytrent.com, and that's where Trent's store is. And that's where we have his merch, his coloring books, his illustrated children's book is just sold there. And we also have information there about the family and contact information. And people can always email me at trentsmom@drawingsbytrent.com.
Excellent. Andrea, thank you so much. This was amazing. It's fun. It was great
Yeah,
to
thanks
catch
for
up
having
with
me.
you. And we will do it again in person at some point, and we won't have a lot of chaos, I promise.
All right, awesome.
Excellent.
That's okay. We
So
still really enjoyed our time with you.
we enjoyed it too. My family loved your family, and it was just great. And just give everybody a big squeeze, especially that little Winry. Oh,
yes.
she's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Well, listen,
Yep.
thanks again. And everybody, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Talk to Me Sis. And you know what we always say? We love you, mean it. Have a great night, everybody. Love you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Lastly, everybody, if you liked hanging out with us today, do us a favor, hit the follow button, leave a rating, or drop a quick review. It helps more than you know. And if you really loved it, send it to a friend who needs to hear this. And if you're interested in sponsoring a future episode, please send us an email at talktomesismail@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and love you, mean.